Hey everyone, we know how hard it can be to keep up with the latest news in Israel, so if you haven't had the time to stay on top of what's what in the Holy Land, have no worries. I'm Natasha Kirchak, and this is ILTV's Weekly Review. It's finally happening. Malls, outdoor markets, and gyms are reopening today. This latest easing of restrictions comes as the coronavirus infection rate is continuing to drop off significantly in Israel. Since the start of the week, there have been less than 100 new cases of COVID-19 diagnosed a day in the country. And right now, the death toll stands at 239, and over 16,345 Israelis have been diagnosed with the virus. But there's only been a total of 32 new cases in the last 24 hours. Now, even though shopping malls and outdoor markets are allowed to reopen, they'll still be facing various restrictions. Only a limited amount of shoppers will be allowed to enter. Customers will not be allowed to consume food on site in markets, and places for waiting in line will also have to be delineated. Now, as a result of the dip in new coronavirus cases in Israel, more restrictions will be eased. Government-supervised daycares for kids up to the age of 3 will be opening up on Sunday with limited class sizes. Tel Aviv is reportedly preparing to reopen most of its restaurants and cafes by the end of next week, and all limitations on gatherings could be canceled by June 14th. But authorities are warning that all of this progress could be taken back if COVID-19 cases begin to spike again. Now, all that being said, there will not be any lockdown during next week's Lag BaOmer festivities. The Jewish holiday is on May 11th and May 12th. And to prevent as many large gatherings as possible, the holiday's traditional bonfires will be banned, but that's all.
Meanwhile, restrictions may be easing, but the Israeli government is remaining vigilant in preventing the spread of the COVID-19 virus, even if it means the continued tracking of civilians.
אני מבין את הפגיעה בפרטיות, אבל להערכתי, אולי אני טועה, בסדר, להערכתי, אנשים רוצים לדעת שיש חשש גדול שהם היו בקרבת אדם עם קורונה, ואם היו עושים סקר כללי, לשאול בן אדם היה רוצה לקבל SMS מהכלי הזה, הוא לא היה רואה בזה פגיעה בפרטיות, היה אומר, וואלה, תגידו לי, אני לא רוצה להדביק את המשפחה שלי.
In a controversial move, the Israeli government has now reauthorized the use of anti-terror surveillance technology to track individuals infected with COVID-19. And the Shin Bet security services who operate this mission also then inform anyone who may have come in contact with these people. So far, at least 7% of Israelis notified by the Shin Bet that they may have been exposed have tested positive for the virus. But of course, many are still opposed to the plan, as the technology is meant to track terrorists. So the use of it on unsuspecting civilians is seen as a massive breach of trust and personal privacy laws.
כרגע, אני חושב שצריך להפסיק מיד את השימוש בכלי. אני חושב שגם את תהליך החקיקה אין צורך בו, ויפה שעה אחת קודם.
Still, the surveillance project has been approved for use until May 26th, during which time the cabinet is also expected to present a draft bill to regulate the surveillance of the public. And the public will then have just 1 week to comment on the bill before it's submitted for final Knesset approvals.
In other news, Israelis trapped for years in the Gaza Strip may finally be released as Hamas and Israel reportedly inch closer to an agreement.
It's been nearly a decade since the Gilad Shalit prisoner swap between Israel and Hamas. But for nearly half that time, the Hamas terror group in Gaza has been holding on to a number of other Israelis. Soldiers Oron Shaul and Hadar Golden, who were killed in the 2014 Gaza war, and Israeli civilians Hisham al-Sayed and Avram Mengistu, who wandered into Gaza before their capture. Well, now, Israeli officials are expressing real optimism that these 4 can also soon be released in a prisoner swap agreement. In fact, top international diplomats from Switzerland, Germany, and Egypt have also been in contact as mediators between Hamas and Israel. And ex-Israeli Mossad officials who served in the Shalit deal explained that Hamas, from its perspective, is under massive pressure due to the coronavirus outbreak, and they worry that if the outbreak gets out of control, they'll be left without suitable medical equipment. But in spite of the potential good news, Israelis are waiting to hear the cost. In order to free Gilad Shalit in 2011, 1,027 Arab, Israeli, and Palestinian prisoners had to be released, a large majority of whom were imprisoned for violent acts of terror against Israelis. 280 were even serving life sentences, and scores of those released in the deal have since been rearrested for repeat offenses. Even now, the news of this potential deal comes just after rockets had been fired from Gaza into southern Israel, prompting swift Israeli response.
All right, now many of us have been hearing the word Remdesivir being mentioned around the clock on the news. It's the U.S.'s latest hope of treating COVID-19, and the drug could be headed to Israel soon. Has the U.S. truly found a treatment for the coronavirus? Remdesivir is an antiviral drug that was originally developed as a treatment for Ebola in the United States, even though it didn't end up working. Now, it's emerged as a potentially significant tool in treating COVID-19, and it's just been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for emergency use in hospitalized patients with severe cases of the disease. Well, according to the Health Ministry's Director of International Relations, Israel is well positioned to be one of the first nations to secure the drug. Asher Shalmon claims Israel has a strong relationship with Gilead Sciences, the manufacturer of Remdesivir in California, which could help ensure a supply to Israel. Gilead has included Israeli hospitals in past and present drug tests, and Israeli medical centers are currently part of 2 trials for Remdesivir itself. Still, there are critics that say the U.S. government is jumping the gun on the drug, whose efficacy is far from proven. For now, the Israeli Health Ministry is closely following data on the drug, but hasn't yet reached a conclusion as to its effectiveness.
Meanwhile, it's back to school for Israeli children following weeks of shutdowns and remote learning initiatives.
אנחנו מאוד מתרגשים. מבחינתנו זה כמו 1 בספטמבר. כולנו הגענו חגיגיים, חולצות לבנות, אמורים לקבל 256 ילדים, עד כה נכנסו 230 ילדים. אני מניחה שיש הורים שעוד חוששים וייכנסו גם מחר.
דיברנו על שטיפת ידיים, על שמירת מרחק, הבאנו אלכוג'ל, מסכה, מגבונים, דואגים לשמור על מרחק.
Sunday has become the new first day of school for millions of students in Israel, as elementary classrooms up to 3rd grade have been allowed to reopen. And in line with Health Ministry guidelines, classroom sizes have been limited to 15 students, each sitting 2 meters apart and donning masks and gloves. Meanwhile, alcohol gel, sprays, wipes, and other cleaning supplies are available at nearly every turn. And if all goes well, more grades will gradually transition back to the normal daily routine, with all grades slated to return by the 1st of June.
מתרגשים וחוששים ביחד, אבל צריך לעשות את הצעד הראשון. אם כולנו נחשוש לא נחזור לשגרה. אני בעצמי מורה, ואני חוזרת עוד יומיים לתיכון פה ללמד.
But not everyone is as excited about the return. Some 35 cities and local municipalities are continuing to stay home, at least for now, including the cities of Tel Aviv, Ashkelon, Rosh Ha'ain, Haifa, Ramat Gan, Be'er Sheva, and Tzfat. These cities will reportedly begin opening schools by no later than next week. And as for individual parents, hundreds of thousands of families are refusing to release their children back to class, arguing that they refuse to see their kids become guinea pigs of the health and education ministries.
All right, now thousands of self-employed Israelis and small business owners are taking to the streets. It's all to demand that the Israeli government provide them with more support amid the economic crisis caused by the coronavirus.
We need the government to provide us with a little bit of money so we can start the business again. And the government doesn't want to do that. This is why we are here today.
Protesters are demanding 100% compensation and blasting the government for failing to provide unemployment benefits for the self-employed. So far, Israel's granted the self-employed a 6,000 shekel payment to help weather the pandemic, and has approved a plan last week to include a second stipend equaling 70% of their regular income, up to a maximum amount of 10,500 shekels. But the stipends are taking time to reach the bank accounts of many who are living paycheck to paycheck. And so far, out of the 80 billion shekel government package to support the economy, only 4.6 billion has gone to small businesses, with only 14,500 applications out of almost 50,000 being approved. Small business owners say that most of the funds are going to larger companies which can more easily secure loans from banks. Right now, the unemployment rate in Israel is at 27%, with over 1.2 million out of work. And the National Employment Service says that women are taking more of a hit. The number of Israeli women left unemployed by the coronavirus crisis is 28% higher than men. And the United Nations is even saying that the pandemic is exacerbating inequalities between men and women globally. Sadly, though, economists believe it will take a year or more for Israel's economy to recover from this crisis. All right, now this is some exciting news. A month-long trial has now ended at Israel's Shiva Medical Center, and the results are amazing. The Israeli startup OrAir has successfully shown that its new filtration device can kill up to 99% of flu viruses in the air. And now they're setting their sights on the coronavirus. We all know that the coronavirus sticks around in the air for longer than initially thought, but how infectious is a virus as it floats around the room? And what's the best way to get rid of it? Well, Israeli startup OrAir says it doesn't matter, as long as their filtration device is installed nearby. The filter has been installed at Sheba Medical Center as part of efforts to reduce contaminants before the coronavirus was discovered. And phase 1 of testing of the device is over, now that it's been proven that OrAir is in fact 99% effective against the H1N1 and H5N1 flus. Meanwhile, in the US, OrAir has also successfully finished 3 other pilots at a hotel, a conference room, and an apartment. So now phase 2 has begun at the Sheba Medical Center in Israel, in which OrAir will focus on purifying and disinfecting the air from an expanded set of viruses, including, of course, COVID-19. And the device will be installed in labs used to diagnose the virus, medical staff rooms, relevant operating rooms, and patient rooms. Right now, OrAir is in the final stages of receiving EU funding to expand its product's reach. The Sea of Galilee is at the highest level it's been in the last 2 decades, but not many people are around to see it. Tourism typically peaks in April when Christians flock to holy sites during the Easter season. But with the coronavirus pandemic, it looks like Tiberias won't be seeing any new faces anytime soon. Still, we can rejoice in how well the Sea of Galilee is doing. Here in Israel, it's called the Kinneret, and it provides Israel with 25% of the country's water. It's long been seen as a way to gauge Israel's health, and news outlets often post updates on the water levels. Well, the lake's level came to an all-time low in April of 2017 when the water dropped about 212 meters below sea level, but the current level is 208 meters below sea level, which may not sound like much of a difference, but it's huge for the vegetation and wildlife in the area. Now, we may not be seeing Israelis enjoying themselves on the shores of the Sea of the Galilee just yet, but tour groups are already making bookings for autumn and winter, so you may want to check that out.
All right, they're big and they're back. The world's largest fish spotted off the coast of Eilat on Israel's south coast today, a year after the rare whale shark was spotted in the area. Inspectors from the Eilat Maritime Unit filming the beast, which can reach 15 meters or 50 feet in length. That's bigger than a school bus. And an event like this is extremely rare because these ocean giants are endangered. Although last summer, 4 were seen in 6 weeks. Despite weighing a whopping 34 tons, that's 68,000 pounds, they're not dangerous to humans. So these divers could have a whale of a time swimming with these majestic creatures. All right, animal rights activists want the COVID-19 outbreak to serve as a warning around eating meat. And they're calling on international bodies to label animal products as dangerous to public health. ILTV's Natasha Kirchuk has the details.
Israeli activist Adit Romano works to save animals from slaughter. Now she's launched a petition appealing to the United Nations and World Health Organization to slap a hazard warning on all meat products, just like the ones that you see on cigarettes and food products that are high in sugar and fat. Romano is the co-founder of Israel's only rescue and educational sanctuary for mostly disabled animals. And she says former disease outbreaks highlight the dangers associated with the animal food industry.
And we want to remind that birds flu, pigs flu, mad cow was only the beginning if we won't stop eating animals.
Now, despite claims that coronavirus came from eating a bat at the Wuhan wet markets in China, its source is still a mystery. But Romano, for her part, says a move like this could prevent another disaster.
It's a period of the COVID-19 and the coronavirus crisis. And out of our belief that in every problem there is an opportunity, we launch a petition. And the cause of the petition is to demand to prevent the next pandemic.
So far, the petition has generated 3,000 signatures, but they're hoping for at least 50,000. And it's not just activists fighting against the animal food industry. Israel's agriculture ministry is under fire, with a state comptroller report claiming the ministry is failing to investigate horrific claims of negligence surrounding the import of livestock to the country. The report looks into shipments of calves and lambs to Israel for fattening and slaughtering. It concludes that animals are forced to live in hot and dirty conditions and are made to sit in their own excrement with insufficient ventilation. And worst of all, the ministry is doing nothing to ensure that complaints are followed up on. In 2018, a bill was in fact greenlit at the end of the year to stop live animal shipments, but since the Israeli parliament was dissolved for the first of 3 elections, the bill couldn't proceed earlier. Lots of Israelis across the country are overjoyed that they'll now be able to visit their grandparents or elderly relatives, but one young boy has jumped the gun in the best way ever, and the entire country has just fallen in love with him. Gal Ohana is just 16 years old, but almost 2 months ago when the coronavirus crisis began, he decided to move out of his parents' house. He'd made a decision. He would be moving in with his 89-year-old grandfather, Jacob Shakuli, to make sure that Jacob wouldn't have to be alone throughout the coronavirus pandemic. And since doing so, young Gal hasn't met with any of his friends to make sure that he doesn't put his grandpa at risk. That's one strong teen. Lots of grandparents have been forced to stay locked away in their homes for weeks amid fears of contracting COVID-19, but Gal Ohana wanted to make sure that his grandpa wouldn't get lonely, and it looks like he's doing a good job.
כבר חודש וחצי שאני פה אצלו בבית ושומר עליו, וזה התחיל שאני הבנתי שאי אפשר להשאיר את סבא בתקופה הזאת, וצריך לשמור עליו ושהוא לא יישאר לבד ולהעביר את התקופה הזאת בכיף. אז אמרתי לעצמי אני עובר לגור אצלו ולא עוזב אותו, מעביר לו את הזמן, וכל יום אנחנו משחקים, אוכלים ביחד, אני מבשל לו, עוזר לו. פשוט מעבירים את הזמן ומעבירים את התקופה הזאת בכיף.
אני קיבלתי אותו מלפני חודש וחצי בהפתעה, וזה עזר לי כל כך הרבה בצורה כזאת שקודם כל אני לא בודד. יש מישהו איתי 24 שעות והכל טוב ויפה. וזה אני לא ציפיתי ממנו שיחזיק מעמד בצורה כזאת. אבל בכל זאת הצלחנו שנינו למצוא שפה משותפת, מדברים ביחד, אוכלים ביחד, מספרים ביחד, וכל טוב.
It's amazing. I want to meet this boy. What a light in this world. Such a beautiful story.
Now, for many, business is just struggling to survive amidst the restrictions and lockdowns around the world. But for Israeli company MoveIt, payday has arrived in the form of a nearly $1 billion buyout.
Most people who take public transportation are familiar with transit app MoveIt. The mobility as a service or MaaS solutions company helps 800 million users get around over 100 countries and in 45 languages, with its up-to-date navigation functions that tap into all the public transportation systems. And now, U.S. multinational company Intel has confirmed that it's acquiring MoveIt at a cost of just $900 million. But this also comes after Intel invested $50 million in MoveIt in 2018 and bought out driver assistance development company Mobileye in 2017, a deal that cost Intel $15.3 billion, the biggest acquisition in Israeli high-tech history. So what does that mean for the future of transportation? Well, in a statement released Monday, Intel explains that together, MoveIt and Mobileye will help achieve the plan to become a complete mobility provider, quote, including robo-taxi services estimated to be worth $160 billion by 2030.
All right, now this week I had the opportunity to visit Psagot, one of Israel's leading wineries, but it wasn't just the wine that stood out. Psagot Winery has a backstory that's just so unbelievable, you're going to have to watch this. 17 years ago, Yaakov Berg and his wife Naama stumbled upon something unbelievable. A 2,500-year-old cave, dating back to the time of the Great Jewish Revolt against the Romans.
We've been driving, then we felt something strange underneath of our car, and we found the ancient cave. The cave was full with mud almost to the top, so we need to dig.
And in this very cave, they uncovered something even more astonishing. An ancient gold coin from 67 CE, when the land of Israel was under Roman rule.
The Jews tried to kick them out, to fight for their freedom. And you can see on one side of the coin it's amphora, it's a wine bottle. On the other side it's a wine leaf, and it's written here in ancient Hebrew, for the freedom of Zion.
So crazy is that you were already in the process of building your own winery here, and then you find this coin that basically says your ancestors were doing exactly the same thing 2,000 years ago.
After we found the cave, we understood this is our legacy.
This cave has become home to one of Israel's most famous wineries, Psagot, which was chosen as Israel's top wine producer in 2018. This is just part of the Psagot vineyards. They're located in the chalky terraces of the Binyamin region in Judea and Samaria. Every single bottle of Psagot wine is imprinted with an exact replica of the coin that Yaakov and Naama found.
Today we're producing more than 300,000 barrels. About 70% of our production go to export. It's maybe the biggest in Israel.
So the majority of what we're seeing here right now is actually going to be consumed abroad.
Yes,
straight from
exactly.
Judea and Samaria.
If you really want to taste Israel, if you want to taste Judea and Samaria, you want to taste the land, that's the way to do it. So if you can take a look, this is that stone, this is the ancient wine press. You can see a hole just here on the floor.
Right.
There is one hole here and one hole here. They lift up the stone, I can show you the stone.
Yeah.
It's put a weight here and all the wine used to go down here. Here you can, about 200 liters, can stay there and
ferment.
Ferment, exactly.
Today, tourists from around the world come to Psagot to see the historical landscape, take part in guided tours, and of course, drink some very fine wine. And the best part is that it's just a 15-minute drive from Jerusalem.
Where we're just standing, it's Psagot newest winery. It's going to be ready in 2 weeks.
You built it purposely with the idea of having this view, right, of the Jerusalem hills behind you.
Yes.
Why is that the case?
Listen, Natasha, most of the Bible stories happened around us, really here, long before Jerusalem was exist. Stories about Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, our forefathers. From here you can see the Jordan Valley, you can see the Dead Sea. Used to be the beginning, the house of King Saul, our first king, and a lot of the stories about King Saul happened here.
So as you're going to be drinking your wine from this very area, you're going to be able to have a view straight into the history of Israel, basically.
Yes, yes. This is the heart of the land of Israel. For 2,000 years, that land was a desert. Nothing was growing here. Everybody tried, nobody succeeded. We believe that part of the miracle of Israel, it's not just that we, the Jewish people, came back to our homeland.
Right.
Also the land came back to us. And I think this is what wine represents, what vines represent. The story of Psagot is the story of the Jewish people.
That's it for ILTV's weekly review. See you next week.